Been a while, hasn't it? My work schedule has changed a lot. So I'm actually on the 5 a.m. shift this week. I am going to be doing something a little different and be playing from my living room today, just because I want to see as much of this as possible, and I also want to stream, and my living room TV is a heck of a lot bigger than my bedroom TV. So I love the PlayStation 3D display a lot. Great unit, got it for a really good price, and it's just not big enough to satisfy my desire to see this in detail, kind of along with everybody else. So I'm pretty sure that this game just released today. I downloaded it, got home from work, and now I'm here with whoever joins me. I don't expect a whole lot after my silence. So we're just going to do the thing. I'm going to be going through, and not necessarily going through, but kind of saying, this is different, this has been updated, here's where they put more detail, um, that kind of thing. So I'm not going to go all the way through this intro. This really hasn't changed. To my knowledge, they really haven't updated the 2D stuff, and yeah, you can see that this is really centered here instead of being full screen. But that's okay. So this is essentially going to be an SD game with HD models, essentially. And that's kind of understandable because, as a little background for how these things were made, all of the pre-rendered stuff is probably long gone at this point. The Square actually had a server fire and lost everything. They didn't think they had the code for this game anymore. They were actually calling people who were involved with, like, the PC project at Eidos, former employees and that kind of junk, asking if anybody had anything. And apparently they found something, because for the PC re-release, they literally had to find the gold master copy for the PC version and work off of that, which they did by wrapping it in some other, like, supervisor program, kind of like they did for Final Fantasy VII PC. So, needless to say, the chances of them ever having this without doing a full, like, Final Fantasy VII remake, kind of full remake, seemed impossible. And apparently somebody just was crawling under desks or managed to find somebody or something because they managed to get the code. So, they actually were finally able to get this to us, the fans. And of course some sacrifices had to be made because, again, these full 3D assets, like the FMV assets, those are like super high resolution things. I'm sure they didn't do that stuff even on a good day because storage back in the day was very expensive. So when we're looking at these kinds of things, it's like Final Fantasy X Remaster, just or HD or whatever you want to call it. I mean, there were things that had, some sacrifices that had to be made. Now, when we're talking about the pre-rendered backgrounds, those were also done as 3D models. Those original assets are long gone. I mean, we are pretty sure that, that those are long gone because, again, looking at what they did for Final Fantasy VII, and quite frankly, the terrible translation that made to PC and how much of it was lost and how much had to be redone and all that kind of stuff, and contractors up the wazoo. Those original background assets, I guarantee you, were not preserved or were lost in that fire. So what we're really working from is original 2D backgrounds, maybe upscale a little bit or something. We won't know until we see this, but they basically did updated models and that's it, which is fine, I guess. I mean, adjustments have to be made for our expectations for this thing. So I'm just going to start a new game. And obviously they updated the controller. So options is pause, fleet battle is still R2 or L2. Map. Gotta love the touchpad. It seems to be everybody's replacement for select. Which is funny because it's the same rough shape. You can save icon space that way, I guess. Okay. Looks like there's a no random battles option. We won't be using that. So, in terms of how I plan on playing this, I plan on playing this like any other RPG. Now, Final Fantasy VIII is kind of special because, in a way, everything that came out directly after Final Fantasy VII was compared unfairly to Final Fantasy VII. People hated Final Fantasy VIII because it wasn't more Final Fantasy VII. Same thing happened to The Legend of Dragoon. Anybody who tried to do anything different that wasn't Final Fantasy VII, for a while, it was just really rough for JRPGs because that was everybody's first and it really set some expectations. Now, Final Fantasy VII is not a perfect game. It remains a solid game. I might maybe do some streaming of, because I do have Final Fantasy VII on here, or I can put it on here or on the one on my bedroom. It's not an issue. It remains a solid RPG. PlayStation version translation was really rough, not gonna lie, but from a systems standpoint, it's still rock solid. The characters are still likable and engaging. The story is sufficient. The music still has some of the greatest variety in the entire series. I still really kind of am disappointed that Electric to Chocobo did not make it into the Final Fantasy XV soundtrack, because I still maintain that it is one of the most interesting songs in the entire series, just because it's got so much going for it on a technical level, as well as just being so different from everything else as a pastiche of surfer rock. So, now, Final Fantasy VIII, obviously, is what we're playing now. I actually liked Final Fantasy VIII at the time. So I think that Squall could be a better protagonist, but at the same time, I think that what they set out to do was to, and you can find this cinematic anywhere, literally anywhere, so I'm just going to talk over it. What they set out to do was interesting. They wanted to make a JRPG that required zero grinding. And if you play it like a normal JRPG, you can do exactly that. Now, it was kind of... Final Fantasy VIII is considered, like, by fans to be one of the worst Final Fantasy games of the main series. Basically because, A, it got so much hate after release just because it wasn't more Final Fantasy VII, and B, because if you actually understand how the math works, you can break things very easily. I do not intend to do that. I intend to play this as a normal JRPG, so you can kind of see how things are balanced and, you know, not have to worry about, well, you know... Like, that's the thing, is that I am a big proponent for just not reducing a game to math. Math should be a descriptor of the game, not the point of the game. And I hate Pokemon for that reason. I mean, like, Pokemon hates Pokemon for that reason. That EV training thing that they did in X and Y was a direct response to that. So, I mean, no developer wants somebody to reduce their game to math. Everybody knows that it's going to happen eventually. You get MMO builds and those kinds of things, but that's not what it's meant to be. It's supposed to be an experience. And, so I intend to play this as an experience. You can love it or hate it, but that's the way I have fun, and if this isn't fun for me, then it's not fun for anyone else, really. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people who have the exact things that you can do to break things. I know that, like, doing things in one of the early sequences with Cypher just like killing everybody else in the party off, and then like just having him go back and forth and back and forth for hours and hours and hours, just drawing you all of this magic and stuff. Let you start off the game essentially with like all of this high level magic, and then everybody is like level 2 or something. I don't intend to do that. You can totally do that. I consider that kind of thing a waste of my time. I mean, I don't intend to break things that way. So interestingly enough, this opening sequence was made to explain why Squall has a scar. He was thrown with the scar. He didn't have any particular backstory for it, and so they just kind of came up with this as a reason for it. And so Cypher, of course, has his own matching and opposing scar from this sequence as well. So here we can see we've got our HD models. We can see that not a whole lot has been done with the motion here. We're going to just leave all of the names at default. So I'm going to start this off by saying my biggest beef with what they did with the graphics is they changed Squall's hairstyle. You can see in that intro that it's a little different, it's longer, it's messier, he's got it like shoved behind his ear, those kinds of things. Here he's kind of just like, you know, neatly combed. Honestly, I don't think that fits with Squall's character. Squall is a guy who does not care about much of anything starting out, and as somebody who has gotten like long hair and just done the exact same thing and left it a mess and just brushed it behind his ear, that's totally up Squall's alley. He doesn't care about being this, you know, clean, you know, shiny boy band kind of thing. Now, somebody online on Twitter actually pointed out that this is because it's a lot more in line with his Dissidia appearance, and once they pointed that out, I totally see it. So, but we can see these backgrounds are really, really blurry. Obviously, they did some stuff with the text so that they're not using the same pixel font text as they were. Although, you know, I think it feels kind of faithful. It's kind of tall and thin, and I like it. So, well, they could have given her a little more attention, couldn't they? Oh, that's rough. Not gonna lie. I was actually, like, really excited to see what they would have done with her. I mean, they definitely gave her a fresh coat of paint, but I think that I was hoping to see a little bit more done with her shawl, or whatever that is, whatever you would call that. Again, it doesn't look like they did a whole lot with the animation here. I guess I'm a little disappointed that they didn't do more with the animation, because when they like made Final Fantasy IX for the PS4, I started noticing like little touches, like little flicks of Zidane's tail that weren't in there. I say Zidane, it's Zidane. We have a pronunciation for that now. As somebody who played these on PS1, there was no pronunciation guide for any of these people. So, but I'm just going to say that that scene where you're moving and the camera is moving and it transfers into just seamlessly into an FMV, that blew so many people's minds back in the day. I mean, it's lost a little bit of its impact because of the blurriness now, but you have to remember when we first saw that, we hadn't actually done a whole lot of that. Like, maybe a little bit in Final Fantasy VII, maybe-ish? I mean, they combined the models in with the, FMVs, but you weren't in control at that point in time. So for the camera to be moving while you were still controlling the character, that just seemed like magic back in the day. Now, I will say that this may not look like it by our modern standards, but this game was motion capture, which is one of the reasons that it really kind of blew our minds graphically. And of course, character limitations. That is a really fast strobing blank. I wonder if it's because they didn't update it for the clock speed. We're just going to confirm this. So, to geek out a little bit, Quetzalcoatl is, this is a very abridged version of the name Quetzalcoatl, which is, of course, a Mesoamerican deity of thunder and wind, and I think rain a little bit, maybe? I don't know. My Mesoamerican history is a little rusty at this point. Anyway, Quetzalcoatl was a giant snake that had bird wings and was very pretty and also very powerful, and I forget if it was their creator god or not. Anyway, Quetzalcoatl here is kind of more almost like Ramu's robe, just kind of come to life. It's this bird cloak thing, and I actually am kind of excited to see it in battle. Of course, Shiva is named after the Hindu god of destruction and rebirth. Shiva, of course, in the Hindu deity, is much more associated with fire than ice. In here, it's just ice, and I don't know. Some people think that they chose the name Shiva just because it sounds like shiver a little bit if you turn your head and squint. But we're just going to confirm this as well. And then we'll just... I already kind of know everything that's in here. Just wanted to pick those up because then I can start junctioning. We're going to give Squall Shiva here because, quite frankly, his compatibility with Shiva is just better than Quetzalcoatl's, and Quista's compatibility with Quetzalcoatl is actually quite a bit better. At least as far as I recall. I don't know, it was one of those things that the developers didn't want to assign a specific summon to a specific character. They really wanted to leave it up to the player to decide who goes with who. Ultimately, because you gain compatibility with them the exact same way, the end result really doesn't matter. By the end of the game, you're going to have your team just having whatever you gave them, and it'll be fine. Obviously, we don't have any magic. So we're just going to do magic GF draw on here. I was never big on items in this game. It's just there are so many ways of attacking things and healing, and you just really don't need to use items in battle all that often, in my opinion. Of course, that's because I grind like a jeweler, but that's just my playstyle is I grind. Of course, the GF abilities, we are going to start things off with card on this one here. You obviously have all of these abilities. Your junction abilities are ultimately very important. Some will learn some will not learn others, and all that kind of stuff. Just having, you know, general stat boosts, summon magic damage boosts, HP boost for the GF, the boost ability, which allows you to boost, you know, your ability damage. If you don't have boost, or if you don't use boost, it's going to be 100%. You can boost it higher than that, but to be quite honest, the animations for these two are so short, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then, of course, Thunder Magic Refine, where you can refine magic from an item. Now, Shiva, we are going to go ahead and, let's see here, we've got Ice Magic Refine. We've got Summon Magic plus 10%, Spirit plus 20. And as you learn abilities, you will unlock more abilities. So with Shiva, I'm just going to put it on boost because that's faster. Card is a really, really useful ability that Quetzalcoatl has. It's the only one that has it. And it lets you turn weakened enemies into playing cards, essentially. Those can be refined into some really great items. And just refining cards is one of the best ways to get things. So, as for Shiva, Shiva learns Doom. Obviously, I haven't gotten to the point where I've unlocked that yet. Let's see here. I think that's pretty much it for right now. Obviously, we're doing... Oh, come on. Don't do this to me. So people have things to say, like surprising amounts of things. So Quistis, of course, has her fan club here. You've got 3 of the members of that right now. And this is kind of wonky controls. We can see a little bit, for those not familiar with Squall, he considers himself a lone wolf. You see right here, he is very slow to assign blame to someone else. Like, he is very big on his personal responsibility thing, and kind of takes more responsibility than maybe he should for certain things. Quistis, in opposition, is an instructor. She's very young for an instructor. And here we meet Selphie. And we get a little agency in Squall's personality as well. Not the same way that we get for Cloud in Final Fantasy VII. Ultimately, Squall remains Squall for story reasons. But you have options. Alrighty, so interesting touch. She is not actually added to our party. Ooh. We talk to this guy. Alright, so we're gonna go through this. The cards that you get from this guy are fixed. Now you've got... Well, the card game mechanics are... Card game stuff is not my thing. It looks like they actually updated the graphics on here because that Fungwar is really, really clear. This geese art is maybe a little blurry. They definitely updated the 2D art. Gesper is really blurry too. What the actual? So Gesper is not going. Don't get too attached to it because once we get card refined, this is getting turned into something that we're gonna give Quistis. So Quistis is a blue mage. Of course, blue magic works pretty differently depending on the game. In this game, she basically gains blue magic by you using items on her. So this will turn into an item that gives her Degenerator, which is an instant kill attack, which, believe me, is really great to have. The card itself is not one of the worst. I mean, you can see it's got the 5 and the 4, which is pretty powerful for these, you know, in those two directions, but, I am not one for card games, to be quite honest. In Final Fantasy IX, when they force you to do that card competition, that was such a pain in the rump for me, like, seriously. I actually think I had my little brother do it for me, just because card game stuff is just not my thing. Now, to be fair, this card game is actually considered good enough that it actually had its own online equivalent for a while. And, I mean, it's very well loved by fans who aren't me. So, I mean, it's not that it doesn't have any merit. It's simple, it's effective, and, oh my gosh, that cursor. You can tell that this was all done as one image here, because there is no way that they just stretched the cursor like that. This is all just a background video, which is actually kind of revealing and neat for me as a programmer, not going to lie. So, you can use this essentially to teleport. Now, what I don't like about this system is you can use it to teleport to a place, but you can't use it to teleport back from a place. There's no, like, mini directory sign, anything that you can use in all of these extraneous areas, you know, to get back here easily, which would have made things so much nicer. So, to be quite honest, I usually forget that you can use this to teleport around and just do the walking thing. Now, with the walking thing, a little humor there. With the walking thing, you get paid by the number of steps you take. So, it is, this game has so much stuff that everything is kind of on a fixed interval. You gain a level for every 1,000 EXP you gain. The reason for that is that monsters get stronger as you get stronger. You face the same enemies throughout the game and they just level up along with you. Now, again, part of that is why you can break things so easily. Because if you like do some stuff, you can get some great magic and boost your stats, and monsters do not have that same benefit, so you can totally break things and make it so that you just pound everything in front of you, essentially. Anyway, it's one of those things that they wanted to make it again so that you didn't have to grind, and you don't have to grind. You do not have to fight the battles in front of you. It's to your benefit only insofar as you gain more stuff out of it. It really is based around the battle rewards, because leveling up is just not really conducive to the gameplay. So, I mean, you get better spells by leveling up and those kinds of things, but at the same time, you just go this way. Okay, this is... You know what? I'm not going to go this way. I'm just going to let the director do the work for this case. You can tell it's just a habit for me. So... Come on. We are going to go to the Universal Library. That cursor maybe isn't part of that, but it is stretched way too large. There's all sorts of stuff you can do, talking to NPCs and... Got over here, there is a draw point. Ooh, nice haul. That's not how it works, Chief. Anyway, draw points are basically places you can just draw magic from. Now, there are some things in here where you can go through, like, side quest-ish with people who... Are you done? Okay. Anyway, there's just, like, stuff you can do with... like, somebody, like, likes each other in this area. Can we just talk? Do the talking thing. There we go. Like, somebody really likes the girl with the pigtail, and if you go through their story, I don't know, there's some sort of payoff. Okay. Now, what we can do is do a little early grinding before anything really matters. So you get paid every X number of steps that you take. They are talking about a literal T-Rex that is in there, by the way. Fortunately for everyone watching this, and me, I know exactly where you can and cannot encounter said T-Rex. We're going to take a risk because there is a draw point in here. But there is no shame in running away from the T-Rexars. Okay, shoot. Oh, okay, it's on the grass. Okay. And I did. Okay, so Squall has a unique ability with his gunblade that you can basically... shnikes, we're gonna have to cut this short. I will get back to this later, sorry.